Hello and welcome to How to Thrive as a New Manager, Tips for New Managers, and Guidance for Promoting Managers. If we haven't met before, my name is Art Petty. I'm an executive and emerging leader and career coach, a leadership and management author, a strategy advisor, and a longtime software industry executive. A couple of key points as we dive into our program here. First and foremost, this isn't one of those, hey, is it live or is it recorded? This is a recorded webinar. It's the same content I delivered at an event during April of 2021. I love sharing this content. In fact, I love, as you'll hear over and over again, working with individuals, first-time new managers at the front end of our leadership pipeline. I think it's such a critical role and, importantly, a critical role to get right. So really happy to share this material. There are free resources from the slides to some additional content I'll highlight at the end. There's a bonus item in the middle, and you know what? If you want it, no catch, happy to send it to you. All you have to do is drop me a note. You can get the slides, you can get the bonus material. I'll be happy to answer questions on the content here. My email address is shown throughout the program, but it's art.petty@artpetty.com. All right, so what's our focus today? What are we going to do? We're going to talk about the care, coaching, and successful startup of new managers in a changing world. Sounds like a big, lofty, and important topic, but you know what? We're going to make it real practical. We'll make the content real useful. It's always my goal to give people who attend my events tools that they can take away and apply immediately in the workplace, and we'll absolutely do that in this session. We've really got three big areas that we'll spend time with. A look at the changing role of the manager and why it's so critically important that we get it right. I'll spend a little bit of time talking about three big takeaways from the research into leading in dangerous situations. Sadly, we have a lot of research and a lot of data in the last couple of decades on what it takes to succeed when leading in those situations. I'll make the case that it can really help guide both new and promoting managers. And then we'll look at 12 key areas for the promoting manager and new manager to collaborate on during the startup phase. So this really is a partnership, at least success is a partnership between the promoting manager and the new manager. Sound good? All right, well, as I just said, and I'm going to beat this drum multiple times, success happens via the partnership. And you know, this isn't something we read enough about, hear enough about, coach enough on, and what have you. What I find when we deal with new manager failures, and sadly there are way too many of them, is that this partnership didn't exist. So I'm going to continue to beat that drum throughout the session. A little bit of stage setting here for you. You know, this is the context as to why this is so important. So first, it's really personal to me. I was, just a few dog years ago, a new manager. And I remember I think the second year that I was a manager, the feedback that I received was, hey, you know, Art, you finally showed them you're not a machine. Oh my gosh, I feel horrible about what I might have subjected people to for those first couple of years of managing when I was in machine mode, when I was in driver mode. And you know, like so many others, I was an expert in my job. I had a great career trajectory at the start until I took the role of support manager. And guess what? It turns out that job would have been easy if it weren't for the people. It absolutely is a personal issue. It's also critically important. I eventually got beyond those new manager challenges. Thankfully, I had a great mentor in the process. As I've advanced in my career, I've spent an incredible amount of time, even as an executive, helping new managers become successful. I really do believe they're at the front end of our leadership pipelines. And let's face it, oftentimes, ironically, the newest managers, those with the least experience, end up closest to where the work gets done and closest to our customers. So we need to get this right in order to create the right level of performance in our organizations. And guess what? In our fast-changing world today, it's literally time to rethink everything about the role of manager. My bold claim, and you'll get several of those throughout the session, the new role of manager is a lot less about traditional managing and much more about coaching, teaming, supporting, problem solving, networking, fostering learning, and connecting strategy and execution. That's a very different job description than what probably exists in most organizations and what certainly has existed for most of the time that management has been in existence. So it is definitely a changing role in a changing world. We really do have to walk that kind of tightrope between guiding people, supporting people, and creating results. And it can be a really delicate balancing act. And again, when we shift from manager to contributor, it's just a fundamental transformation, and most of us aren't ready to deal with it. So here's my next bold claim. The shift from contributor to someone responsible for coaching, helping, guiding, teaming, supporting, and doing all of those other things I talked about is really difficult and really risky for all parties involved. I love this perspective. I think I've drawn this from the work of Linda Hill at Harvard Business Review. Linda's probably the preeminent researcher into the work of new managers and the challenges they have. I heartily encourage you to check out her book, Becoming a Manager. And I'm paraphrasing from here, but the only career transition more difficult than moving from contributor to manager for the first time might be moving into the CEO role. Too many first-time managers flail and fail, and the root causes there are, well, poor selection on the part of the promoting managers. You know the story. So often and too often, these individuals are battlefield promotions. Hey, so-and-so left. You've done a good job. Would you like to manage? So people are literally promoted on the fly. No kind of real direction for the individual stepping in the role. I describe that as no compass settings and, frankly and sadly, exceptionally poor post-promotion support. And that's usually on the shoulders of the promoting manager there. Ideally, we help our new managers every single step of the way. Again, that theme of partnership comes through here. In reality, too many feel like this, like they're alone, like it's a walk, a wander through the desert without direction. And some feel like this. I'm not sure about you, but as I look at that individual and the jump that he's making, I'm not sure he's going to land that cleanly. And that's what it feels like, and we don't have to have it that way. New manager development approaches in many organizations are either incomplete or missing in action completely. But we can control that, and that's what we're going to talk about here today. So think about this. For the new manager, for this individual who's been really successful as a contributor, once they step into the role, this is literally disoriented. It's like all the rules of gravity have been suspended, or at least mostly suspended. Everything is different. The skills that made you successful in the past no longer apply. There are all sorts of new skills that are required for the job, and frankly, people don't have context for them, from coaching to developing to creating the right working environment. These take time, they take experience, and they take coaching to develop. Yet we often throw our newest managers into the role and don't give them that guidance. Here's a reference from Linda Hill. Again, Linda I mentioned a few moments ago. She talks about in her research, the new manager's expectations of their job were incomplete and simplistic. And they had to reconcile their kind of narrow expectations with the daily reality of managerial life and the seemingly unending and confusing demands of new subordinates, new bosses, and even new peers there. So that is the reality of the environment. We come into this role maybe with enthusiasm, but a lot of naivete about what it involves. And if we don't get that support that's so critical, well, we end up flailing and sometimes failing. And those numbers are way too high, and it's way too important to allow that to happen. We really do fail to account for this key reality. A new manager is a rookie all over again. I don't care whether you're 22 or 42 or 52. If you're managing for the first time, this is a rookie experience. New managers, sadly, aren't comfortable asking for help. If you look at the research on this, and again, Linda Hill is one of those sources, as are others, you find that more than half of new managers are very uncomfortable asking for help from their boss. And frankly, the bosses don't encourage it. They don't plant the seeds. They don't set the stage. And in fact, the new managers are just really uncomfortable because they don't want to look like they don't know what they're doing. In reality, they don't. We should accept that. Sink or swim style of development is sadly still a thing, and that's the case where, frankly, I was thrust into the role without any training, any guidance, and initially any mentoring or coaching, and I almost sank. Thank goodness it was a great mentor there that helped me out, and I ended up swimming eventually there. But this is still a thing in too many of our organizations. One and done training isn't the fix. And by the way, this is coming from someone who offers development programs. I don't really like to offer training without coaching and a more complete development experience. The panacea, the solution we've looked for all along has been, hey, let's send them to a training course and they'll be great. Well, training is good. It gives you context. But it's what happens after the training, including the coaching and the reinforcement from the promoting manager, that determines success or failure there. And you know, promoting managers really fail in many cases to recognize or execute their primary role as coaches for new managers. So we have to help get beyond that. Again, Linda Hill, let me emphasize the struggles these new managers face represent the norm, not the exception. And these aren't impaired managers operating in dysfunctional organizations. They're ordinary people facing ordinary adjustment problems. But imagine how much more effective they would be if the transition were less traumatic. That's our goal here, is make the transition a lot less traumatic. All right, so since we're not live, I can't ask you this question, but I do in live settings. So we get a lot of fascinating feedback. So pause the video for just a second, if you're able to, and jot down your ideas. What are some of the big costs to the organization of a struggling or a failed new manager? What are some of the big costs to the organization of a struggling or failed new manager? Well, here are some that I hear most often. First and foremost, a promising career is a successful contributor has their career derailed there, and that's not a good thing. The promoting manager's reputation suffers if the new manager flails and fails. We get poor engagement from the new manager's team. Oh my gosh, do I feel bad about the new manager's team, particularly when I was that new manager. So, by the way, as an aside, I actually reached out to many of those people and said, hey, you know, I'm really sorry if I was a bit onerous during that time, and I really thank you for giving me the latitude to learn. So that was kind of a nice way to get closure on that experience. Certainly, we suffer with reduced quality. If the team isn't engaged, if they're stressed because the manager is either not providing direction or providing way too much command and control type of direction, quality can suffer. You end up with turnover, and turnover, of course, has just cascading negative effects throughout an organization. And then there's just incredible opportunity costs that occur across the organization. So, yeah, there are more, but these are kind of the key themes that I hear from groups over and over and over again. We really can't afford these costs. We need to find a solution. I propose that it's time to rethink how we develop our new managers. So here's that bold claim in a slightly different form. The role of manager is formative for the individual and absolutely critical for the future of the organization. We really do have to kind of burn this into our frontal lobes. It's a critical role. What do we need new managers focusing on as they begin to learn and ultimately strive to master those skills essential in our organizations for creating the future? Well, if you buy my theory, my new job description for managers in this world today, we need to get them focusing on team development and team performance. Everything that happens in our organizations takes place on teams, and the ability to create, coach, and lead teams is essential. We need to help new managers strengthen and sharpen critical thinking, right? The nature of the role is on problem solving. It's on finding ways to innovate. It's on finding ways to do more with less in many cases, finding ways to do things differently, and certainly helping make decisions when uncertainty runs rampant through the organization, which is often the case. And then there's this network development, this concept of connecting disparate groups of expertise. The individuals who cultivate and connect rich, diverse networks truly are individuals who change the future. So there's more to the new manager's role, but I want my new managers beginning to develop skills in these areas and just a little bit of a data support. This teaming concept, it's really important. Everything new in our organizations takes place on teams, and a survey from Deloitte on human capital trends at the time, they had indicated 39% of work was done in teams, and 7% of CEOs viewed their firms ready to support teams. I might argue that more work is done on teams than would be estimated there, and I might argue that that number is probably just about right. Most organizations aren't ready to support teams. We need our managers able to do that, and it starts with the new managers. As it relates to innovation, well, I mean, gosh, innovation is all the buzz, right? Who doesn't talk and think and hear about it, especially from those at the top of the organization? In the McKinsey survey cited here, 84% of CEOs said, hey, innovation is our top priority. 94% of those same CEOs said, you know what, we're really not good at it. So think about it. And while new managers might not necessarily be leading or driving all of the innovations, these are the front end of our talent pipeline. They're closest to where work is happening. And oh, by the way, there's ample opportunity to innovate about process and communication and how we serve and support the various stakeholders. And this can take place at that level. All right, let's shift our focus to that topic I referenced on what it takes to lead successfully in dangerous situations. In a live setting, I would ask this. So here you have to think about it or jot down some ideas. What do you believe are the attributes or behaviors of successful dangerous situation leaders? I'll share what the research says. First, it's deep caring at a personal level. Not surprising, by the way. Seems a little soft, but not surprising to me. Trust that's given by the leader to the individuals around them that they're dependent upon. Purpose and values front and center, not only for the group, but the purpose, the leader's purpose and the values that the leader brings to the situation. Credibility, right? We want our leaders to be credible. We want them to back words with actions. So we really do value credibility. Competence, we certainly want leaders that are technically competent, that are capable of executing on the role, and very importantly, really good at supporting the decision-making under pressure process. It's kind of the core essence of leading in dangerous situations. And yeah, this issue, people want accountability uniformly enforced across the group. So those are 6 really big issues that we've learned from leading in dangerous situations. What if we taught, what if we coached, and what if we reinforced those behaviors from the beginning? What about that? Think about that. What if those were part of every manager's kind of managerial DNA? Well, we have to coach to it. We have to teach it. No doubt about it. So, hey, promoting managers. If you're one of the promoting managers listening to this webinar, you own setting the stage for success for your new managers. And you know, new managers, you need some GPS settings, right? Some global positioning system settings to guide you through this really challenging process. So it's time to talk about creating that partnership between the new manager and the promoting manager. I want you to focus together in the right dozen areas during the startup period. And you know, that seems like a lot. Frankly, as you look at it and listen to the different items, it's really not difficult to incorporate these critical 12 items and areas into the work that you're doing together over the first 90 or 100 days. So, by the way, I'm talking about startup here. When I reference the startup of a new manager, I understand that if you're a newer manager, maybe you've been in the job 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, whatever it happens to be. If you've been in the role for some time, make tomorrow day one. And if you're a promoting manager and you've got some new managers that are struggling, again, work together and make tomorrow day one. So, number one, we need to help the newer manager understand the role. And I encourage individuals to go out, new managers and promoting managers, to have the discussion. Why do you want to manage? I actually have that discussion 3 times with newer managers, and I encourage them to get involved in different exercises and different activities. So after the first question, when I ask them, why do you want to manage, I send them out to meet with experienced managers to interview them. After the second, why do you want to manage discussion, a few weeks later, I actually provide opportunities for them to manage informally, to lead some smaller project initiatives. And I observe and coach, and then we debrief. And number 3, we finally cover it after all of that. Why do you want to manage? I guarantee you the answer changes between the first time asked and the third time. New managers also need to understand, hey, what's my mission? What does my team need? Why do I want to do this? So I really think there's a lot of work to be done here, particularly as it leads up to the role. Ideally, you're doing this type of work pre-promotion. Doesn't mean you can't do it post-promotion, but I encourage you to get this done ahead of time. One of the best answers I ever heard on why do you want to manage, and this was past tense, why did you want to manage, came from Ron. Ron was a retired CEO, and he had recognized early in his career that he could contribute more to his organization by managing a team of engineers than he could by being an engineer on his own. That's a great motivation to manage. Ron really had a successful career, and he lived that purpose. Number 2, I want you to create a startup plan. So don't leave the startup to chance. I can't tell you how many new managers or promoting managers I coach where I talk about this and they kind of look at me and they hadn't really thought of building that game plan. They might have some loosely defined goals or milestones. I want a more strategic, a more specific plan. So what are the targets for week 1, month 1, quarter 1, and how are you two going to engage, to monitor progress, to coach, and to course correct? And ideally, this is happening, either pre-promotion or pretty quickly in the first week or so of the new manager's role. So here's one of those bonuses I talked about. I have a great first-time manager 100-day startup checklist, probably more aptly described as a guide. It's 23 pages, and it really does walk through in detail what to do, pre-promotion, day 1, week 1, month 1, quarter 1. So if you would like this, no charge. It's part of my First Time Managers Academy, but I'm happy to share this piece. Just drop me a note at art.petty@artpetty.com, and I'm happy to send it along your way. All right, so number 3, we need to have the missing discussion. And this is an interesting one. Think about it. We need to have the discussion between new and promoting manager on what's important to the promoting manager. I think that context is so critical for the new manager to understand what her boss's goals are, what their vision for the area might be, what their aspirations are. I think that just kind of humanizes the relationship and allows the two of them to really create and build a bridge, and they're working together. And this can happen at any point in time, so ideally pre-promotion, but it doesn't matter. If you haven't had this dialogue with your boss, or if you're the boss and haven't had it with your other folks, think about having this discussion. It really is a nice way to get you both on the same page. Number 4. This concept of trust, this issue of swift trust in particular, it's something that I truly believe that we need to adopt, because time to trust equals time to performance. So it's really critical to accelerate that. We have to beware the typical tendency of a new manager to say, hey, I'm in charge and I must know better. And we don't want to have people walking on hot coals to earn your trust. So the notion behind swift trust, and a lot of research behind this, is that you really need to give trust first, and you can show that you trust people. If they're in the job, if they've been doing the job, if they've been working, You're typically not there to completely transform things as a first-time manager. You're there to help people get their work done. So give your trust. Don't make them walk on hot coals. You'll accelerate the time to performance. And think about it in your own circumstances. We all know if someone doesn't trust us, we feel judged, we feel like we're being evaluated. It kind of creates a tension, and, it breeds distrust. Well, imagine what happens if you as the new manager come in and truly showcase how much you trust the individuals there on the team. So practice swift trust. This is something the promoting manager has to both educate the new manager on, provide coaching for, and something that needs to be observed and reinforced on a daily basis. I recommend this immediately and forever. So this is just something that we all should practice. One of the most challenging things for people who've been incredibly successful as contributors is letting go of their old roles. And in reality, that's what we have to do. You were an expert before who got things done. Now it's time to create experts who get things done. And it's time to focus on that work we've been referencing, teaching, coaching, and certainly delegating. So promoting manager, you need to observe this in action. You need to watch out. This is a common trap that new managers fall into. You need to provide coaching support and training on how to delegate. So a lot of regular observation and, new manager, you just need to put this to work daily. You need to resist that tendency to do your old job. Number 6. Here's one that seems almost a little counterintuitive. I want you to flex to the communication needs of your team. So many people start out and they first adopt that policy of, I've got an open door approach. You can approach me anytime. Okay, that's great, but it's not enough, right? You need to engage them on their terms and on their turf. And by the way, this helps build rapport. And here's that T word again. It helps build trust. And remember, time to trust equals time to performance. So I really want you to use your curiosity, your ability to ask thoughtful questions, and let those guide most of your interactions. I want you to share a lot of positive feedback, and I want you to learn their communication needs, their preferences, their style, and I want you to adapt to that. So new manager, this is a daily routine. It's going to them instead of having them come to you. Promoting manager, you need to observe and coach, and this is literally day 1 to forever. I love this one. Number 7, writing the rules for success. I would never stand up a project team if we didn't first work on and describe and define the values that would govern the behaviors on our team. I want you to do the same with your new group, right? Collaborate with them and define the operating values essential for success. Some starter prompts here. How will you work together? How will you solve problems together? How are you going to give each other feedback? How are you going to help each other succeed? So new manager, you lead, you own this initiative. I think the promoting manager, you should sponsor it, you should encourage it and provide support for it. Ideally, this is something you knock out in the first month. So write the rules for success. Create your leadership charter. I've not seen this anywhere except in my work and my writing, and this is something I learned to do at a pretty early stage in my career. I actually had to go out and I had to kind of ask my team, what is it you really need from me as your manager at this point in time? And you know what? Every team is different. It's a function of the makeup of the individuals. It's a function of the context in the organization. Is it a fast-moving organization? Is there a period of hyper-growth? Is it a turnaround type of situation? Is it kind of a slow and steady environment? I've never worked in that last one, by the way. So you have to find out what the environment is, but very importantly, ask your team members, what do they need from you? Talk to them about what it is that you want to be held accountable to in supporting them, and then find a way to remind yourself of your priorities. And a simple way to do this after talking to your team members is to craft a charter. It can be a couple of sentences, short paragraph. Start it out. My role as a manager is to, and then fill it in. Share it with your team members. Work on bringing it to life. Use it as your true north. I actually did my version of this, and I put it on my wall, and I would read it every morning when I walked in the door, and I would strive to confirm that my day's agenda, all of my activities, lived up to the commitments I made in that charter to my team members. So great exercise, highly encourage it. All right, here's a news flash. You don't have a team. We overuse that term. We definitely misuse it. You have a group. You have a group probably of functional contributors. So team development is a very specific process with unique coaching. In the case where you're a new manager for a functional group, the best way I know to begin to kind of form a teaming environment after writing the rules for success, after doing your manager's charter, your leadership charter, is to get the group involved in working on improving the function or working on the organization. They work in it every single day. And I use something I call the 3Ws process. That's kind of a topic for another day. But effectively, you sit down and you work with your team members and you look at, hey, what are we doing that's great, we should do more of? What areas are really weak? And how can we improve upon it? How can we effectively work together to collaborate, to projectize innovations and improvements? So, new manager, this is something you own. The promoting manager, you should sponsor it, you should teach it, you should coach against it. What a great way to get everybody in your group involved. And you'll find a team forming in the process. Number 10, guess what? You were a contributor before and you had group members you worked with. You've got a whole new set of peers, and these peers are really critical on a number of levels. First of all, you'll be dependent upon them for support for decision making. Some of them will be customers of yours, or at least their functions will. Others of those will just be key stakeholders there. So you need to strive to uncover what it is that they need from you and your team and find as many ways as you can to build bridges. One of the biggest mistakes new managers make is that they stay too focused, too isolated, too much tunnel vision on just the issue in front of them when they're part contextually of a broader, bigger organization. So how can your teams create opportunities to collaborate on larger organizational issues? This is a new manager focus. It's a promoting manager coaching and sponsorship. And this should begin to take place certainly within month 2 or month 3 of the new manager's tenure. So meet the peers, get involved, find ways to create value, find ways to collaborate with them, and you'll be happy you did, because down the road, you'll need their support for many things. I like the idea of creating what I call an operating routine, a fresh operating routine. And those are some of the kind of literally routine activities that we engage in. So from one-on-ones to regular operations. And I want you to ask your group members for help in building the new routine. So you can collaborate with them on defining the agenda for really useful, really engaging one-on-one sessions. You can work with them to define an agenda for what your regular team meetings are like, your operations meeting. And you know what? You can also work with them to decide, hey, how are we going to celebrate together? So whatever it happens to be, there's a set of routine activities that take place. One-on-ones, goal setting, team meetings, group meetings, operations reviews. Get them involved in helping define that with you, and you'll find, again, that that's supporting trust building, it's showing respect, it's just a lot of goodness, and they'll be involved and they'll buy into the process and into the work. And number 12, well, this is critical, and no one really tells you this going into the job, but you've got to help people grow. That's one of the key things that you do. You can't do this immediately. You can't conduct career discussions immediately with people. But once you've got context from observing and engaging with people, I want you to introduce 3 new discussions: strategy, goals, and career orientation. These are really important, powerful topics. The promoting manager needs to teach and coach on this. The new manager ultimately owns it. And I have to tell you, don't assume that any new manager comes into the role knowing how to have strategy discussions with their team, or goals discussions with their team, or career discussions with their team. Those are kind of the big 3, and we need to help our newer managers in these areas. New manager, if you know you need to begin getting involved, ask for help from your promoting manager. All right, so that was the big 12. I suppose I could have made this number 13, but I didn't. Yet it's really important, and that is new manager, ask for help. Literally no one expects you to have all of the answers, including your boss. You don't want to let things spiral. Frankly, you're expected to ask for help. Questions are indeed the basis of learning, and you need to ask a lot of questions, and you need to find the experts, including your boss, who can help you with them. And I think that the promoting manager really needs to encourage this via one-on-ones and daily engagement. So new manager, though, don't do what too many new managers suffer from, and that is this kind of fear of asking for a little bit of help, a little bit of support. Remember, it's all new. We all know that this is all new to you. So take some time and be comfortable and confident asking help. Ideally, you begin doing this from minute one. You don't want to be left like this person here in the rowboat on the cracked lake bed, rowing alone, not getting anywhere. All right, there's a lot of work in this job, right? For both parties, for the promoting manager, for the new manager. I say this all of the time. I use this image. Sometimes you just have to move a lot of rocks to build a beautiful wall. There's no escaping the heavy lifting essential for success. And yeah, this is a little bit of insight. Some people have really exotic hobbies. I spend my weekend often moving rocks, but you know what? You end up really happy with the outcome. All right, let's tie some things together. Let's wind this down and bring it to wrap up for you. It takes two working together in partnership, that promoting manager and that new manager. Promoting manager, I want you to observe, I want you to coach, I want you to sponsor this new manager for success across those dozen areas we talked about. New manager, it's your job to engage with energy, to have some purpose behind why you want to manage, to be curious about the business, about how you can improve, about the work of your people, and importantly, as we've talked about, it's your job to trust. As a sidebar, sometimes someone will effectively squander your trust. They'll violate it. Deal with it at that point in time. Don't let the fear that somebody will not repay your trust keep you from giving swift trust. Your job is critically important, or if you're the promoting manager, the job of your new managers is critically important. It's really difficult, no doubt about it. It's really changing in our world of change. You both need a game plan. I highly recommend you take me up on that 100-day success startup, 90-day success startup, however you define it. Yeah, that plan sets the stage for rapid growth and success. And I don't care whether you're in day 1, day 180, day 240. Make tomorrow day number 1 for both of you, for the new manager and for the promoting manager. There are no half measures when it comes to success. Let's get this right, new manager. I know that in every group of new managers I work with, somewhere down the road, some of you will be CEOs, some of you will be top executives, some of you will start businesses and be successful entrepreneurs, some of you will engage in not-for-profits, some of you will save lives, some of you will help people along their way. So we really want to get this right, and there are no half measures. We want to change the future for the positive, for the better for everyone out there. All right, I promised some resources, so here are some things. In addition to that 100-day startup guide, which I offered, you certainly can get the slides as well if you email me at art.petty@artpetty.com. Take advantage of number 1. I've got over 2,000 articles written on management and leadership. I just can't quit writing about helping others grow and develop as leaders and as managers. So, including a dedicated first-time manager series. Visit my blog. Visit the Management Excellence blog. You see the URL, artpetty.com/blog. Visit artpetty.com. You can't miss it. Hey, if you want to take it to the next level, I'm a big fan of that as well. We've got 2 flavors of First Time Managers Academy. So the on-demand, it's evergreen. It's an e-learning course. Very comprehensive, self-paced course. I've had hundreds of organizations and thousands of individuals work through this program. This will guide and challenge you on building an incredible foundation for success, and it will teach you many of the fundamentals. You can find that at artpetty.com as well. Look in the nav bar and you'll see leadership skills e-courses. So really a great program. We're very, very proud of it. We've got a little bit of a special bonus coming up here for webinar pricing if you're interested. And then I run First Time Managers Academy live online. A little bit different from the on-demand course. Of course, we get a chance to interact. We do this typically over 3-4 hour sessions. I also incorporate one-on-one coaching. We have at least 2 one-on-one coaching sessions. And I mentioned earlier, I'm really a big fan, not so much of training, but of development. And I think development involves a number of different media, right? So the training component, the course interaction, the content, all great. The development actions, fantastic. And then the coaching really brings this to life. You leave First Time Managers Academy live online. You leave there with a game plan for your growth and for your development. You can go to artpetty.com on that one, and on the nav bar, look for Leadership Skills Workshops. So a couple of different flavors there. Just a little bit more on First Time Managers Academy. The live online program, again, as I mentioned, one-on-one coaching is a key part of it. We run cohorts several times per year, so you've got to visit the website in order to see when the next cohort is. Happy to get you involved, happy to book groups. For corporate groups, I'll often run this for anywhere from 10 to 15 individuals in organizations. I like to keep the cohorts that we run, again, right to 8 to 12 for open enrollment cohorts. But we've always got one running or one being scheduled, so go ahead and visit artpetty.com, check on Leadership Skills Workshops, and you'll learn about the next First Time Managers Academy live online. It is $450 per participant. If you've got a group involved, let me know and I'll work with you on group pricing. So one other component, it includes an evergreen e-learning portal in addition to the pre and post coaching calls and of course the program content. I love the fact that we build great new cohorts. This extends your network as well. So what a great opportunity. Here's the on-demand evergreen version. My submission is it is the most complete, most powerful new manager e-learning program available on the marketplace today. There's so much involved. You've got to visit artpetty.com, look in the nav bar, Leadership Skills e-courses. It's $197 a seat. And remember, this one doesn't include coaching, but it's a powerful course and it's evergreen for you. I don't make it go away at any point in time. And you know what? Here's a webinar special. Here's one of the bonuses for listening to me all the way to this point. The webinar special has the course at $157 per seat. All you have to do is use the coupon code FTMA40 at checkout. So First Time Managers Academy on demand, always available, ready for your enrollment, ready to support you. And you know what? You'll find that I offer many places in the course. I'm never more than an email away for questions. I love to engage with people in that particular program. All right, so we've got some other courses depending upon your needs. If challenging conversations, dealing with difficult workplace characters, dealing with a difficult boss, dealing with blockers in the workplace, learning to deliver effective performance feedback, crushing it with challenging conversations is the place to be. The influence course, level up power skills, get more done faster by growing your influence, is just a fabulous way, particularly for those of you who've kind of moved beyond that new manager role and really want to begin climbing the organization's ladder, getting more involved in key decisions, getting a seat at the table. It's a great course for that. We've got the beginner's course to delivering effective performance feedback. And keep in mind, you do get a feedback module within the First Time Managers Academy. And I've got the Feedback Skills Bootcamp for anybody who wants to just do a deep dive into this thing. This is something I run 3 or 4 times a year. So a variety of resources here. We're happy to serve, happy to help. I can't thank you enough for spending time with me today. I hope that you go out. I hope that you, as the promoting manager and as the new manager, spend great time partnering and working and helping new managers succeed. If you're the new manager, there's so many great tools here that we've talked about that can help you gain an edge and succeed in this formative role in your career. So thanks for being here. Wishing everyone nothing but success. Take care, and I look forward to our chance to interact.